Local Legends by Matthew Stanton. If the Wednesday before Thanksgiving is called the busiest bar day of the year, then Thanksgiving night is the saddest. A collection of single individuals trying to regain sanity after a day with family that depleted their reservoirs to empty. They escape to dimly lit dives that don't ask how's the job or where's your date. Just off Dixie Highway sat a parking lot with an asphalt so cracked it looked like a topographical map. The yellow parking spaces had long been worn away, and the cars in the lot did their best to situate in some sort of order. The only light came from a pink fluorescent sign for Legends Bar, one of the 3 businesses in the strip mall. The sign was placed over 2 glass doors that were surrounded by an orange brick facade. The windows were filled with posters advertising specials, $5 Pitcher Thursdays, and Sunday Service Industry Night. The establishment didn't have much of an ambiance, but it didn't need any. It was the only bar in Florence. The sterile suburb was a collection of cookie-cutter subdivisions that surrounded Mall Road. Tomorrow morning, holiday shoppers would clog the 4 lanes of concrete as they rushed to get the best deals offered from the once thriving mall. Legends Bar was a half-mile away, but tomorrow's traffic would pile up to the entrance. No doubt a few would-be shoppers might turn in to have a pint before venturing into the consumer chaos. Sean Colby entered the bar unaccompanied. His brown track jacket hung loosely off of his narrow frame. He removed his knit Bengals cap from his head, revealing a homemade haircut. He tucked the cap into his jacket pocket as he meandered towards the sparsely occupied bar. Behind the bar was a soft-skinned woman in a bright pink Legends tank top. Her bleached blonde hair was doing its best to hide the inch of brown roots underneath. She greeted Sean with a smile that was in contrast to her tired, bloodshot eyes. "Happy Thanksgiving, you turkey. What can I get you?" she asked with an open-mouthed grin that was broken up by a missing bicuspid. "I'll take a double well vodka soda, please." Sean reached into his black bifold wallet, pulling out the lonely $20 bill. He settled into his seat, looking around, hoping not to have acquaintances in the room. It was a holiday weekend, but now at 38 years old, most of his contemporaries would be home with their own families, a partner, and a few kids. Sean was newly single. He had never been married, but came close twice. Both times, the women were the ones to break it off. Financial stability was the main concern. Marie used it as a weapon, but Lee felt tormented but ultimately couldn't take the worry anymore. Women say they want a sense of humor and a partner who listens, which Sean had cornered. What women don't say, it isn't funny not going on vacations to foreign countries or having to talk about why the man's savings account was in single digits. The bartender slid over the filled glass and grabbed Sean's 20. She turned and started penciling in numbers into a white plastic cash register with a small digital display showcasing the charges. She looked over to the left at the wall of autographed glossy 8x10 photographs before quickly turning around with a big smile directed at Sean. In a loud voice that was an octave higher than her order-taking voice, "Well, will you look at that, y'all? Not just 1, but 2 of the legends of the wall are here tonight." Sean looked to his right, and 3 spots down he saw a thick-bodied young man with an unzipped black warm-up jacket. Though Sean was still taller than the young man, they had very different body types. Where Sean was a collection of elongated limbs, the young man was a sturdy specimen of muscle and width. You could see the roundness of the young man's shoulders, and his thighs gave no vacancy for his blue jeans. "Bruce, you want another one?" the bartender asked with her jagged smile. The young man acknowledged with a head-tilting yes, and he turned the brown glass bottle upside down in his mouth. The young man took a few paces over. "May I join you?" "Well, if you do, they'll start calling this the VIP section," Sean joked. Resting his oversized body on a black bar stool, the young man peered down the line of headshots. "So which legend are you? You don't look like the mayor, and you don't look like the chief of police." "I'm a comedian." Sean didn't like telling strangers what he did for a living. It usually was followed by an instant request for Sean to rattle off some jokes, or in less friendly confines, "Well, I've never heard of ya." The young man leaned back and took a moment to recollect, pointing his finger. "Hold on. Sean, right? You graduated from St. Paul with my stepsister, Kate Brock." Sean was excited to have this interaction. "Yes, we were on the cross-country team together. That means you're Bruce Bach, the pitcher?" "Yeah, well, for now." Bruce's face turned somber. Sean, worried he had hit a nerve, quickly changed the subject. "Kate saw one of my shows in Arkansas. Her wife was wonderful. It was great to see them so happy." "Oh, she told me. Said you had a great set and some guy got kicked out for hitting on one of the servers?" Sean remembered that guy. He had a great laugh, but didn't know how to order a drink at a volume less than 10. People think hecklers attack comedians with a purpose. Usually they're just drunk and lost awareness of their surroundings. As they get asked to leave, they say, "I was just laughing." No one gets kicked out of a comedy club for laughing. They get kicked out for being an ass. "I have to admit, I've been following your career from afar. I was a pitcher too, but chose comedy instead of playing at Northern. My dad was kind of pissed about that." A light returned to Bruce's face. "I remember you played. I broke all of your high school records. I got a full ride offer to Northern, but I kept bombing the ACTs, so I had to go to Claremont JUCO." The intelligence of baseball players was one of the reasons Sean didn't want to play college ball. Sean was smart, but he knew most ball players weren't. Being around men you can't connect with would wear on Sean. He remembers hearing stories about teammates in New York hating Hall of Fame pitcher Tom Seaver. He did the Times crossword puzzle in pen in the clubhouse. It made the other players feel stupid. Sean loved the game, but hated the mentality of most of his teammates. He figured college was going to be his ceiling talent-wise anyway, so why not just move on to his other love, comedy? Sean knew Bruce broke all of his records. Innings pitched in a season, wins, strikeouts. The one that hurt the most was the no-hitters. Sean had thrown the first varsity no-hitter in school history. Not only did Bruce throw one, he threw 3 more. Bruce was a lot more naturally gifted at throwing heaters compared to Sean. This pleased him, though. If you're going to get beat by the best. "Have you started off-season training yet?" Sean inquired. Bruce's solemn facial expression returned. He lifted his right shoulder up softly, and a cascade of cracks and pops were audible over the 90s rock and roll coming out of the bar's jukebox. "Last week is when all the teams make contract decisions for people like me, and it didn't go well. Even if they did call, I think my shoulder is done." Sean, trying to find a bright side. "Can you just get surgery? Pitchers get surgery all the time now." "Big league pitchers get surgery all the time. I'm 8 years in the system chewing sunflower seeds and AA. They wait for stars to recuperate for a year, not some rum-dum who they couldn't trade for a bucket of balls." Sean wasn't that far off from Bruce's feeling of hopelessness. He was in town because the club he worked every Thanksgiving had shut down. It was the third one who regularly booked him this year to close their doors. Ever since the early 90s, comedy clubs had a short shelf life. The depressing part now is the new ones weren't popping up to replace the old ones. America was entering a comedy dust bowl. The comedy landscape had been eroded away by poor planning and short-sighted bookings. Clubs booked too many actors who thought they were funny. They had the name recognition, but that only buys you 10 minutes of grace on stage. If you don't have punchlines to back it up, the crowd grows restless. Road comics like Sean spent years honing an act that was dependable and can sustain for 45 minutes. A pretty face can be pretty for 45 minutes, but pretty isn't funny. The two started to bond over their mutual, unique experiences. When people think of comedians, they think of sitcom stars. When they think of baseball players, they think of the ones they see on television. No one notices the underlying workforce. The comics who work Midwest church fundraisers and perform at college cafeterias during lunch. No one thinks about minor league ball players who ride a bus from Utica to Allentown for $600 a week. Sean and Bruce are part of the forgotten society of entertainment. The ones who are just trying to hang on as long as they can and hope for some fortuitous break that most likely will never come. The conversation shifted to women. Comics get chicks, right? Bruce asked, hoping to get some juicy stories. Sean's eyebrows arched upward on his forehead. Comics don't get chicks. And the ones who throw themselves at you, you don't want them. Puh, shit, that sucks. That's how it is in the minors, too. You don't know that at first. You're bumming around in Florida in high A ball, and after the game, these absolute babes line up behind the dugout asking for your autograph and where the team hotel is. At first, you're all excited, but then you realize these chicks know all your stats. They know more than some of the scouts. They just want the big shot prospects. Hope he's stupid enough to knock them up before he gets to the major leagues, and they get that meal ticket for life. Most ball players are Christians, so you know they aren't paying for abortions. They'd rather have a crotch goblin running around that they only see a few times a year. Sean chuckled into his drink. Crotch goblin? That's a good one. I haven't heard that one before. Bruce took his comedic victory and continued. I thought I got one of them once. I must have been having a good month on the mound because there was talk of me moving up to Double-A. I was in Fort Myers and I had thrown 6 innings of shutout ball. But after the game, I was throwing my best pitches at this fine-ass Cuban girl. She was gorgeous. Thick thighs, black hair, big old lips. She was laughing at all my jokes. I was buying rounds. I'm about to go in and kiss her, and her phone rings. I look down at the screen. It says A. Rodriguez. She just stands up, walks right out the door, and leaves me with the bill. That chick drank like 5 top-shelf gin and tonics. I was out an entire week's pay, and I'm stuck holding my jock. Sean laughingly slapped him on the back. Okay, I got one for you. I was featuring at the Chicago Improv, and after the show, there was a bar next door that the whole staff would hang. I didn't really like talking to the crowd post-show, but for whatever reason, I joined the staff at the bar. This drunk woman comes up to me and says, I think comedians are the sexiest men on earth. She started putting her hands in my pockets. Keep in mind, I haven't even said a word yet to this woman. I take her hands out of my pockets and tell her, let me go get us some drinks real quick. I'll be right back. I go to the bar, order 2 drinks, and as I'm walking back, a guy walks through the door in a full Marine outfit. The place erupts with cheers, and the Marine walks over and starts making out with a woman I was just talking to. The woman calls me over, and the Marine is just shooting me a death stare. Bruce chimed in. You didn't go over there, did you? I had to. I walk over, I just hand him the drinks, and I say, welcome home, thank you for your service, and I just walk right out the front door and never look back. The stories and the drinks continued as the new friends shared their tales of woe from the road. They were interrupted once by an older man who recognized Bruce from a pitcher's camp where he had taught his grandson how to throw a curveball. All right, I sort of lied. My agent did get one call last week. It's a little embarrassing, but I got invited for an open tryout for a team in, Bruce paused as he gagged on the final words, South Korea. Sean knew what that meant. South Korea was the last-ditch effort for American ball players. The talent level in Korea was a huge step down. Americans try to rejuvenate their careers and make it back to the major leagues, but that's rare. Most are left stranded in isolation away from their families in a foreign land with teammates that won't accept them. I'm guessing playing in the backyard as a kid, you weren't dreaming of playing in South Korea, Sean sarcastically responded. Shit. I don't think I could even find it on a map today, Bruce answered in earnest. This might be the last chance I get, though. That's the thing I'm figuring out, man. People keep feeding little boys the myth that they can be anything when they grow up. Chase those dreams. Little girls want to grow up to be doctors, nurses, teachers, and with some work, they can get it. Boys want to be athletes, actors, comics, musicians. Boys are stupid. We chase our dreams to our own destruction. Most boys stink and their dreams are crushed early. The world did them a favor. Then you have guys like us. We're talented enough to fail. Do you know how many goddamn one-nighter shows I've done in a shithole place called Legends? I dreamed of being on SNL, not having my headshot next to the soup specials. The sad thing is, I know a few dozen comics who are jealous of my career. It took a moment for Bruce to comprehend, but then a fire sparked in his eyes. I never thought about it like that. You're right. Like, if I'm struggling in a game, I hear some fans say, "Oh, I could get a hit off that guy." The fuck they could. These dudes would piss their pants standing in the box against me. I'm one of the 500 best in the world at my job, but that doesn't mean jack shit. Shit. My older sister is probably the dumbest teacher in Arkansas, and she makes more money a year than me. Sean blurted out a laugh. I'll make sure to tell her that at the next reunion. Bruce looked forward and stared at himself in the bar mirror. That's why I think I'm done. My dad said he would pay for the plane ticket to Seoul for the tryout, but what's the point? I don't think I have the fire anymore. Sean, trying to get Bruce back into the positive mindset. Well, at least you have a family that supports you. When my dad was alive, I could tell he didn't understand the comedy thing, as he put it. He saw me perform like 3 times, and he didn't say I was funny once. You have someone in your corner pulling for you, and that matters. Bruce took a long drink out of his beer. Having a dad who cares so much has its drawbacks, too. 2 years ago, because of some injuries and shit, I got called up to AAA. It was a big deal, one step below the show. Your pay doubles, you get to stay in nicer hotels. I tell my dad, and he calls off work and drives the whole family to Indianapolis to see my debut. I thought I'd be nervous, but I was locked in. I pitched the best game of my life, and after every half inning, I'd look up to the stands to see my dad's face. That dude was practically crying the whole time. He high-fived every person who walked by him. Mom, other fans, the hot dog guy, didn't matter. Game ends, I get the win, and I only gave up 1 hit. I was only supposed to make 1 start, but it went so well, they kept me around for another week. I rode with the team, watched these guys who were 1 step ahead of me, and just soaked it all in. My next start, Toledo, Ohio. Once again, Dad takes off work, drives the family up, smiling ear to ear the whole time. I go out to the mound, and I knew I just didn't have it. My shoulder fell off, but I tried to plow through. I fought hard, but those pitches that fool AA guys won't cut it in AAA. I get tagged for 5 runs and 3+ before I get pulled. I couldn't look up in the stands to see my dad. Sean stopped Bruce. Your dad's still proud of you. That wouldn't change because of a rough start. Bruce took another long drink. That's just it. I knew my dad would still be the happiest guy in the stadium. I wasn't failing because of a lack of support. I was failing because I wasn't good enough. I never thought that before in my life. Maybe I'm just not good enough at the only thing that I'm good at in the world. The next day, the team sent me back to AA, and that's when the fire started fading. Sean just swirled his drink around in his large, thin hand. I wish I didn't have so much fire. If I have a bad show, I have to go back out there and do another one. I'm addicted to comedy. I wish I could just be okay with having a basic 9-to-5 job. The thought just terrifies me. I've woken up from nightmares where I'm working at a Target. I can't comprehend not being a comic. Bruce relaxed his shoulders and looked at Sean. It's because you use your mind. Every athlete knows their time is limited because even Nolan Ryan's body eventually broke down. You got that goofy mind that thinks funny until you're back in diapers. You're stuck with that shit. Sean was shocked. Oh my God, you're right. Why didn't I think of that? That is the smartest thing I've ever heard a baseball player say. Well, Bruce leaned back with a sense of satisfaction. Even a pitcher gets a home run every once in a while. Last call, we're shutting down shop, yelled the bartender. Sean, confused, pulled out his phone. 10:50. Is that a little early for last call? Remember, you're in the suburbs, Mr. Big City. Searching for his keys, Sean pulled them from his jacket. All right, man, I'm heading back to Chicago in the morning. I have a showcase show I'm closing for a sweet $50. If I'm going to fail, I'm going to go down swinging in front of a room of drunks. Dropping a $10 bill on the bar with his left hand and ordering Uber with his right, Bruce stood up from his bar stool. Give him hell, brother. I'll tell Kate we hung out. Hi, Ting. Perplexed. Bruce asked what? That's good luck in Korean. Bruce tilted his head and slapped the corner of the bar. Fuck, man. Couldn't you make me feel smart for a few more minutes? Sean smiled, exposing all of his teeth. I believe in you. Tell me how that hangover stew is in Seoul. Don't lose that fire just yet. The duo headed out the door and went their separate ways. Sean turned the keys in the ignition as the well-worn engine of his Camry rumbled on. He looked through his windshield as the foggy layer slowly evaporated. The pink fluorescent Legends sign offered a warm glow. Sean could see through the front doors the bartender was sweeping the floors. With one pull from her left arm, she grabbed the chain that hung down from the sign, and the glowing light went out. Local Legends by Matthew Stanton. If you'd like to know more about Matthew Stanton's writings, you can follow him on Instagram at Matt Stanton Comedy or Facebook/Matt Stanton Comedy. If you would like to donate towards his cause, please send him a message, and he would greatly appreciate it. You can listen to more of his stories on YouTube at youtube.com/Matt Stanton Comedy. Thank you for listening.